Does the CMF Watch Pro beat all the other budget smartwatches out there? Let's break it down.
Namaste, we're DHRME. Detailed horological review. Most excellent.
The CMF Watch Pro isn't a Wear OS watch, but it can work with iPhone and Android. And this is what you'd call a cheap watch. There are so many Chinese brands of smartwatches and fitness bands out there, so why do we pick this one? Something special about it? Well, yes. Nothing.
Made by the company that gave us the phone and the ear, the CMF is nothing's low-cost brand. And to be honest, it doesn't really show in every aspect.
To start off with, aesthetics. What low-cost brands usually struggle with is giving any kind of decent, coherent look to their products. Because, let's face it, design is expensive. But the CMF Watch Pro does very well in this aspect. The watch faces are very well designed. There are many kinds: multifunction, analog, digital, creative, and just dials. But I struggle to call any of them ugly, even the ones filled with information. But that information, it's fixed. Nothing you can do about it, not on the watch or in the app. So I personally ended up with this one since it showed the most amount of information at a glance. That seconds and date dial is definitely overkill though.
We love the Oranje strap, and maybe the watch shape itself is a bit Apple Watch Ultra inspired, but let's face it, it's quite well implemented. The strap is very comfortable and didn't give us any skin irritation. The only gripe is the struggle to tuck the tail end into the buckle. We've had watches with this buckle design before, but none of them have been so hard to insert. The buckle, that is. The size of the watch is on the larger side, and that's really a personal choice. The watch, that is.
Rowan really likes the size, but I think it's too big, so your mileage is definitely going to vary. But in all honesty, it does wear a lot smaller than you think because of the lugless design. The 1.96-inch AMOLED display also looks really nice in its aluminium alloy case. The CMF watch is very well designed and it's easy to get around the numerous things this watch can do. Nothing seems to be serious about this watch too, supporting it with regular updates.
On the hardware side, there's a GPS module, an SpO2 sensor, and over 110 sport modes. You also get a reasonable IP68 rating. The vibration motor does seem to be on the weaker side, and setting it to strong also made barely any difference. That display, while nice looking, maxes out at 600 nits. Bright sunlight and sunglasses might very well render it dull and illegible. Oh, and there's no auto brightness, meaning you will need to manually adjust it during the day. Luckily, there's a little toggle in the control center for that, which you can access with a swipe down.
The battery life is pretty bonkers. I got about a week with a mix of the always on display on and off. And I tracked a couple of workout sessions during this time too. If you're not doing anything spectacular, then you're looking at an easy week with the always on display turned on. Turning that display off makes it even better, and it's fine to turn the display off because in our view, the raise to wake gesture works very well in this watch. It doesn't need to be an exaggerated raise like on the Samsung watches.
Oh, and the price. We bought this in India for about 4,500 rupees, which is just about $50 US. And for that price, how can we complain? If you want someone to have something that looks decent and has basic functionality without needing to charge it all the time and something that works across iOS and Android, this is a pretty easy suggestion. Heck, buy 7 of these instead of the Pixel Watch 2.
But yes, price does come at a cost. And to begin with, that's the severely limited OS on this watch. You can't interact with the notifications. The watch only serves as a mirror. So if you get a message, you're not going to be able to respond to it using the watch. You can get to your notification by swiping from the bottom of the watch face, and once you view a notification by clicking on it, it will disappear. You can also swipe all the way to the bottom and clear the entire list of notifications. The performance has been alright in the time we've used it. Animations aren't as smooth as on the better spec watches, and there is the occasional jitter and lag. We did have a day though that it just didn't show notifications for whatever reason. Luckily, you can restart the watch in under 5 seconds and you're up and running. But there haven't been any crashes, either during workout detection or in day-to-day use. Not bad for a product of this price.
Now, don't go expecting very smart features because there's no app store and no way to lock the watch. But you do get a bunch of basic apps and controls. You can check the weather and you can set timers, alarms, and start a stopwatch. There is a bit of integration with your phone, like a shutter button for your camera, music controls, and triggering the voice assistant on your phone.
The step tracking seems to work perfectly well on a treadmill. We got a 2% variance on 1,000 steps, which was decent. However, if you don't swing your hands very consciously, the watch really struggles. I went shopping in Albert Heijn and was pushing a shopping cart throughout. I counted 408 steps on the counter, but the watch only managed to track 85 of those. You also don't get automatic workout start or stoppage.
So I did a short workout that was a mix of weights and a cross trainer and compared the results to the Polar H10 chest strap, which should give the most accurate heart rate results. The CMF Watch Pro tends to dip a lot in the readings and undermeasure the real heart rate. This graph is also consistent with what I was seeing in real time. I even tried readjusting the strap to make it snug, but I remember I could see once that the beats per minute on the Polar was in the 140s and the CMF was under 100. And seeing how my body was dealing with the situation at that time, I would say that the Polar was closer. Overall, we would not recommend this watch if you rely on heart rate readings to train or to achieve specific fitness goals.
The Watch Pro can also track your sleep. You don't actually have to set up much. You just wear the watch to sleep, turn on Do Not Disturb from the control center, set an alarm on the watch and it will vibrate to wake you up. And the always on display turns off automatically when it notices you're asleep. It works well if you can put up with the always on display being lit up for a while until it switches off automatically. If you don't like this smart always on display setting, you can either turn it off completely or set up a schedule. You can't see too many details of your sleep on the watch itself, but the app will show you some more information like the amount of time per sleep stage and if you're in normal ranges for each.
And if you're into continuous health monitoring, then the Watch Pro has a health monitor feature that can do a couple of things: 24/7 heart rate and blood oxygen saturation monitoring, auto stress monitoring, a reminder to drink water and to stand up.
And you can also make and take calls directly on the watch. The microphone is okay, audible when the watch is close to the speaker's mouth. When my arms were to the side, I wasn't audible. I had to put the watch up to at least chest height to be heard. And it does quite okay at canceling background noise. The speaker on the watch though is not very loud and sounds quite tinny. On the watch itself, you can adjust volume, hang up, and mute the mic. Dear Fakman, you're covered.
So is this a stocking stuffer? Links in the description if you think it is. But to be fair, this watch reminds us of so many cheap smartwatches out there. Some even sell for a fraction of the price of the CMF Watch Pro. We're specifically reminded of the Soundpeats Watch 2 we reviewed in the past. The major difference, the CMF has a way better design, 3 times brighter display with more pixels per inch. But that's kind of it. That Soundpeats watch also had fitness tracking, an app, sleep monitoring, mirror notifications, weather, music player, etc. And I'm sure if you look on Amazon, you'll find a ton of these. There's very little that the CMF adds except colors, material, and finish.
I personally quite enjoyed my time with the CMF Watch Pro. It looks nice, it's comfortable, and I didn't need to charge it every day. On top of that, it could do the basics like waking me up with a vibration on my wrist without waking up others, as well as get notified when receiving notifications or calls, and finally track the odd workout or sleep despite the somewhat inaccurate measurements. I will now switch back to the Pixel Watch 2 or the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 because I also value accurate fitness tracking, the ability to respond to notifications, call up the Google Assistant, and pay with Google Wallet.
In terms of which corners to cut, CMF has cut the right ones in our view. This might not be a watch that Kevin and I drive daily because of all the choices we have, but it's certainly one that has genuine value. And that's nothing to sneeze at.
This watch might not have cost a lot of money, but videos like this cost a lot of sweat, blood, and tears. Okay, no tears were shed, but we don't accept money from companies whose products we review. So thanks to you guys for being our real sponsors. And here's a special shout out to our first Fakman tier member, Hunter. Thank you very much.
You've been wondering how pro this watch really is.
And we've been DHRME.
Dewey. Namaste, we are Detailed Horological. Namaste, we are DHRME. Detailed Horological Review. Most excellent.